What's good, friends list, episode 45 of the Gamecast coming at you. The time has finally come. We have now seen the first true gameplay footage from the upcoming Xbox Series X. Now that the next-gen race is beginning to heat up, Mike and I analyze and deep dive on the footage that was shown during the newest Inside Xbox and what it says about the positioning for next-gen with Xbox. Plus, fans can now expect news and reveals from Xbox once a month leading into the launch of the Series X, and we even have the details on what exactly will be shown during each one. All of this, and much more, on the newest episode of the Gamecast.
Now the fun begins.
Punch it.
Stop! You violated the law.
Welcome back to another episode of the Gamecast, your weekly go-to podcast for all things Xbox, Xbox Game Pass, and PC gaming, including news, rumors, and conversation around them damn good video games. You can catch new episodes of the show each and every Friday morning when they drop on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and all other major podcast services. So be sure to subscribe to us wherever you get a podcast at, and follow us on Twitter at GPGC Podcast. Stay up to date with everything regarding the show, video games like, and our dope giveaways. Mike, joining me, as always, my partner in crime, Mike P. Pack, a.k.a. the Toy Soldier. Mike, what's good, what's going on, and what have you been playing, man?
Nothing crazy going on. We had a big day this morning. We are actually recording following the Xbox little presser they did on Twitch today. So
That we did.
I watched some of that. Been finishing up finals. I'm almost done. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. So
Attaboy.
hopefully I'll have that finished up by tomorrow, and then I'll finally be free until summer semester. I'm going to take a class or two over the summer. So I'm not done for long, but at least it'll be a lighter coursework then.
A break is a break is a break. You get a little time off, that's good enough. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You'll take it.
As far as what I've been playing, I have been playing a lot of Valorant still. Been mixing it up a little bit since they came out with Ranked. Been playing some of that. I'm up to Diamond 3. I'm like one win away from getting up into Immortal.
Nice.
And then I'll hopefully get up to Valorant. And other than that, still been playing some Smitey. We played some Tabletop Sim, played some D&D. Sticking my teeth back into Diablo 2, Lord of Destruction for the millionth time. And other than that, it's been kind of dabbling in like a game called the Golf Club 2019, which is the newest the golf club that is out right now. It's like a golf game that has some official PGA courses and stuff. So, just been kind of mixing it up, playing some different games. They're really excited for the releases that are coming out here this summer and, holiday season.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I'm right there with you. I've been playing mostly, in terms of like my, I guess you want to call it live service game, my multiplayer game, the game I play online, it's Valorant. Valorant still has its hooks in me. I can't wait to play more of it later today, I'm sure. Competitive has really helped a lot, and competitive's gotten much better since release. Like, we both kind of were like, we warned everyone, first couple days of competitive are going to be rough because it's just going to be everybody and their mother jumping in on it. So, like, the team construction's going to be rough if you're solo queuing, like me. Like, normally, like, you guys have a much more higher competitive team that you guys normally play with. But for me, somebody who usually solo queues on comp, it's usually a lot tougher to have a good experience with that, especially a game like Valorant, like CSGO, anything like that, but especially a game like Valorant where team comp is so much higher in your face in terms of like, comparative to CSGO, you have roles that you fill, but Valorant is being a hero shooter, and people having mains like Overwatch, it becomes, that team comp becomes so much more imperative to be a part of, and it's really hard to kind of get in on solo queue. Like me, like right now, I'm still stuck in bronze because I'm dropping like every other game. Like, I'll be team MVP most games because I'm actually playing really well with Cypher, and I'm kind of above my competition. Like, I suck at first-person shooters, like, realistically, compared to a lot of people like you and stuff, like, but I'm semi-decent, I hold my own, and, like, I probably am a high silver player, I'd say, but, like, because of how I'm playing as a solo queue, it's rough to, like, go in and jump in and play that, because every other game you're dropping because you got people quitting, you got people, when you're 5 stacking, it's so much easier to go in there and actually like run through and actually have some consistency because you know how people play and you have so much more success just at a team level. So it's still fun though. I love the game. I really, really do like the game. There's a few small issues I still have with it, but it seems like at least Riot comparative to League is much more vocal, and I think they see the much bigger widespread appeal that this can have compared to League, and League is the most popular esport in the world, realistically, but a game like Valorant has the ability to transcend into a casual audience as well, comparative to League, which we've kind of talked about before, but, I'm really still enjoying my time with it. I can't wait to see where it goes, like, in 6 months, how it looks, but the other game that I've been kind of getting back into, kind of, splitting between the Xbox and PC community here, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And this time I've talked about it before, but I played it on console. I never beat it, which I loved Origins. I love the direction that Assassin's Creed took with Origins, the open world RPG mechanics to it, where it was much more of a living, breathing world. And it was the evolution that Assassin's Creed needed because I was very much over that franchise. But I really enjoyed Odyssey from when I started because it was an instant, like, okay, I know I want to buy this because I loved Origin so much. But never really stuck with it as much because I kind of pick up and play with it too much. But kind of getting back into it now that I've upgraded my PC a little bit, where my processor is much, 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 much better than my previous one, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey being a game that is so heavily reliant on your processor, and it plays well with AMD processors, which I went with this time like Mike did. It runs so much better, and it is so astronomically more beautiful playing it at 60 plus frames a second on ultra settings and shit like that. Like, the game is absolutely gorgeous, and with the announcement of Assassin's Creed Valhalla that we kind of talked about last week, but we knew was going to get announced, but we didn't get it in time on the show when we recorded, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show. But that obviously wanted me to get back into it, play it. Got my hooks into Assassin's Creed again, wanting to experience that, and me saying, you know what, now that my PC's upgraded, I kind of want to get in and play a game like that again, have a new RPG to dive into it. So I'm really enjoying my time with it. Valorant's been kind of taking me away from that more than I thought it would, but which isn't a bad thing because I'm enjoying that. So it'll be interesting. I'm really looking forward to kind of playing that over the next couple weeks because it's a very good game to play while we're still in quarantine, and hopefully seeing some kind of light at the end of the tunnel, but a lot of question marks in our state of Pennsylvania still a lot. So it's a good game that I'll have that I can kind of just lose myself in, I guess. So good stuff on mine, good stuff on your end, Mike, in terms of what we're playing. But let's talk a little bit about the future, because that's what this episode's pretty much about. You saw the title of the episode. We're talking about the newest edition of Inside Xbox, where we've gotten our first look at Xbox Series X gameplay. So this is really going to be a lot of our reactions. It's going to be very loose. As you know, like normally when you watch the show, you're going to have us kind of, I have some news articles or I have a big topic, and we just kind of go through and I kind of pull out some questions, some topical questions that I kind of want us to go on. It is more or less conversational prompts that I have for us, but this is going to be much looser. This is going to be much more conversational than comparatively, I think, at least so, because it's just us kind of reacting to it and reacting to what we think about it. So before we kind of kick that off, though, I do want to mention, because they mentioned it in the Inside Xbox show, but I think it's better to kind of kick it off the top here. There's a good write-up from The Verge here from Tom Warren. Microsoft reveals Xbox Series X boot screen and also confirms July event for Halo Infinite and more. So it reads as this. Microsoft is revealing the Xbox Series X boot screen animation today and is promising to focus on first-party Xbox Game Studio games during a July event. A teaser video for Thursday's May 7th Xbox Series X gameplay event, Microsoft subtly revealed the Series X boot animation and sound with a boot up a new episode of Inside Xbox this Thursday caption. The boot animation simply states Xbox and isn't as aggressive as the thud and boom of the current Xbox One X. That still shocks me every time I turn it on. That's a little editorializing, I would think, in his in Tom's writing there, to say the least. But the Xbox Series X boot up sound is a lot more reserved and sounds a little like some of the older Windows sounds from the Xbox and Vista era. Alongside boot screens, Microsoft is promising to reveal more about its Xbox Game Studio titles over the summer. Quote, in July, we will dedicate time to focus on the incredible games coming from Xbox Studios, explains Jarrett West, head of game marketing at Microsoft. Quote, a number of our studio teams are looking forward to sharing first looks at new gameplay, insights from development teams being optimized for Xbox Series X, and bring new game announcements. So, just kind of off the top, Mike, with this before we dive into the actual Inside Xbox show, do you think Microsoft will have enough juice heading into the launch of next gen with making so many announcements over the next handful of months? Because I believe it was Aaron Greenberg with Xbox also said that, hey, in June we are going to have a quote-unquote event for the box itself more, where I think they'll go into a little bit more of a deep dive on the actual hardware itself and, you know, different things you'll see. I'm sure it'll show user interface, things like that. So we've got multiple events kind of kicking up here, and even some, from what it sounds like, planned for August, September even, as time kind of goes on. Do you think they'll have enough juice to really, you know, get to the end and not still have, okay, well, we know everything, which can be good and bad, because then if you don't, you know, kind of allude that, oh, there's more coming, it may not be the, oh, well, we've seen everything. Well, I know Sony's shown us, but they still make it sound like there's more to come for us. Do you think that's an issue that they could potentially run into with giving this much information this quickly?
I think they're definitely walking a tightrope situation here with the way that they released the information that they had for today. I know we're going to talk about it more in depth a little later. So just, you know, from an outside perspective, just kind of glazing over the topic for now. I definitely think that the way that they're trying to release information is interesting, and, you know, with everything that's going on with the virus and everything, I think that it is relevant, and I think they're doing an okay job at releasing information. I think that after this first show, people are going to be a little leery of further announcements, and again, we'll get into this a little later, but I think they just have to be very careful on how they're presenting what they want to show. I think they need to really choose their words carefully, because if they're stating that they're going to show gameplay and then they don't show any gameplay, it's going to get a negative review. Like the show has kind of gotten some backlash online today, just going through Twitter, going on Reddit a little bit, just kind of looking around, poking my head around, because we're going to record the show. They will be okay, because there seems to be a ton of information, and what they released today was just little snippets, if you will. With that being said, they're going to lose the appeal of the entire show if they continue to produce what they produced today. So I think, you know, to answer the question at hand, I don't think that they will lose hype based on information to be released. I think they will lose hype based on how they present said information. So I'm curious to hear what you have to say about the topic, and what your opinion is on it, though.
I agree with you. I'm always in the camp of, and I multiple times on the show, and even recognizing that there is good to the secrecy, because that helps build, you know, the anticipation. It helps build the hype, like the, you know, the marketing business end people want. That's what they want with these consoles, because that's what really drives that, you know, their analytics and things like that. They know to go with said sponsorships and whatnot. Like, they know that building hype around stuff helps, you know, build anticipation, helps build sales. But more, you know, realistically, as us gamers know, and what we've seen this past generation, exclusive sell, big titles, games in general sell. That's what's going to make your console successful, is sales, sales, sales. So when I see this, I see two sides of the coin. I mean, I see one side saying, I appreciate it. I really do appreciate the amount of transparency. And I love that they're like, hey, here's our schedule for the next 3 or 4 months. You're going to have today's Inside Xbox event, or Thursday's, whatever you want to call it, the Inside Xbox event, where we're going to reveal the first gameplay footage from the Series X. You're going to get an actual glimpse of what a game running on Series X looks like, quote-unquote gameplay. And then looking forward, next month, we're going to take a deeper dive into the system. We're going to show you why, from a hardware perspective, from X, Y, and Z, from the system, that it's, a good investment on your end to get into the Xbox ecosystem with the Series X. Then July, guess what? You're going to see Halo. You're going to see Halo Infinite gameplay. You're going to see Hellblade 2. You're going to see whatever the initiative's been working on. You're going to see X, Y, and Z first-party game. You're going to see the new game from Obsidian that they're talking about, which is all great. Love that. So I love that there's a timeline, and I love that it gives us who are fans and us who cover Xbox now too, hey, we know that they're going to have something here. We know they're going to have something here that helps us plan to learn more about this console and know that, hey, if all of our answers weren't answered right now, cool, we probably have the chance that they're going to be answered very soon, within the next couple weeks. That's great. But at the same time, too, there is something to the allure of the unknown, where there's a reason why E3 press conferences always worked so well for fans of gaming, where you knew once a year. And now there's, even with Game Awards thrown in there, twice maybe, but realistically, there's that one time a year that shit's gonna fucking hit the fan and shit's gonna get wild, and we're gonna see really the future of video games each year for like an outlook for the next 12 to 24 months. Realistically, next year or two, this is the kind of cycle we're gonna see of what's coming down the pipeline for X, Y, and Z game dev, publisher, hardware manufacturer, you name it. Where now having the ability to take these Nintendo Direct, Sony State of Play-esque approach of digital events, it's good because of that you're able to get them out really whenever you want. You're able to communicate with your audience directly. You don't have to worry about an event each year to do that. But at the same time, it's, you don't want to lose steam by just making these events just to say something, because then I think you get into what we're going to kind of talk about in a few minutes of some of the things that, people do expect, and people, if they have something to say, it must be meaningful. Where inside Xbox in general, comparative to the other two major console manufacturers, Nintendo and Sony, in both of their digital presentations, Nintendo Direct, Sony State of Plays, inside Xbox is much more of a magazine show. Think of it as, hey, you're going to get an in-depth look at X game, you're going to get a developer diary with this, you're going to get a little opinion piece, a puff piece, hey, we're going to check in with PUBG Studios on what's going on and what they're doing with their game whenever they're bringing their content first to Xbox. Hey, let's take a look at, this specific thing of the console, where you're seeing with Nintendo Directs, they are much more, hey, here's our slate of games that are coming up. Sony State of Play, hey, here's our slate of games coming up. And both of those two different shows, there's no right or wrong answer with either one of them. Like, the magazine approach that Xbox does is great for what they want to do with it. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think that sometimes when they do things like we're about to talk about, people get expectations, which could fall on the fans, by all means, but I think they just need to be cognitive about what they're pushing towards being a new console generation year, and knowing that so much hype is built around this. People are expecting bigger things and expecting more substance out of these than just, hey, we're in the middle of a console generation. It's June, there's nothing really coming up right now. Let's just check in with what's going on, type of thing. That's a little different comparative to where we are right now. So I think they'll be fine, because I think Microsoft has now 15 plus game studios that are working on first party experiences that can only be played on Xbox and PC. So they have a lot in the tank to show. So I'm not worried about that. I just want to make sure that they do have the substance whenever they come. It's just, hey, we're here for a reason. We're not just we're not just coming out and talking about this stuff just to talk about it. We have a reason to come out and talk about it, because that's where people can be driven away and say, okay, every time Sony talks about stuff, they have some substance to it, So with that being said, Mike, let's get into talking about the Inside Xbox event that was today, where it was marketed as, hey, today's the day you were going to see the first look at gameplay, direct gameplay, hands-on gameplay with the Xbox Series X. So, right off the bat, Mike, give me your impressions. We've both seen the show, we both went through the show, we both took in all the quote-unquote gameplay that we did see. What is your just gut reaction off the top? What did you think about the show? What did you think about what you saw in general? And then we'll kind of go in. I have each game kind of listed game by game, just kind of go and touch on the game and just kind of talk about it then. But what in general did you feel about this show? Good, bad, indifferent? Let me hear it.
So there's kind of two different ways I could go with this, and I was kind of debating which way I was going to go, but I think I'm going to go with my original gut reaction, which is the show itself would be considered, I think it should be considered, it's really tough because I'm trying to be, if I'm unbiased from Xbox and just a fan of gaming, period, the show itself was a failure. Reason being was there was no gameplay. If you're touting that this is going to be, you're showing gameplay for the Series X, like, show me gameplay. Don't give me E3 bullshit that's like, you're just showing me cinematic trailers. That's not what I'm interested in if you're telling me it's gameplay. If you say, hey, we're giving you cinematic trailers of the games that we have these studios that are working their ass off to produce that you should be excited about, I'm all in. Like, this show was a 9 out of 10 to me. The only thing that would have made it a 10 was maybe a few different games that I was looking for, Halo being one of them. I mean, Christ, you've been working on the game for 5 years. The game is supposed to come out this holiday season. It's not. There's no way in hell it's coming out this holiday season.
Yeah,
but
they even doubled down on that recently, saying their first objective whenever they announced, you know, hey, here's our schedule of events, like, for what's going forward, and whatever blog posts they put out on the Xbox website, where the first thing they said was, our plan is, first and foremost, is to launch the Xbox Series X in holiday 2020 alongside Halo Infinite. That was the first fucking bullet that they put.
There's no way it's going to happen at this point. They were supposed to show us gameplay last year at E3. They didn't. We were supposed to pretty much... We figured we were going to get gameplay now, but now they pushed that back to July. Well, if you're pushing it back a year, and then you're pushing it back a month, well, 2 months, how many months are you going to push it back? And then pretty soon it's going to be like, hey, you guys haven't seen gameplay. Here's Halo Infinite. Have fun. No, like, that's not going to work.
Right.
At this point in time, they need to be releasing beta access to it. Now, I know something that I will talk about that I was really excited about overall. I know you can't give beta access out to a game that's going to be on a new system that nobody has. I totally get that. But if it's going to be backwards compatible, if it's going to be compatible with PC, you need to be having a beta on PC, period. Yeah. Because what's going to happen is the same thing that happened with MCC. You're going to release a broken piece of crap that nobody is going to... Like, you have literally zero trust with the Halo fandom as it is, let alone you're thinking that you're going to release this game and nobody's seen anything about it. I digress. We can cover that at a later point. This review of the show that I'm giving is strictly based on how they were presenting it. Now, let's go at it from a different angle. Let's say you aren't an unbiased person. You aren't someone who is looking to trust a developer in this case because you thought you were going to get gameplay. Let's say you went into this and you didn't even know that Xbox was doing this, but you went on Twitch and you saw Xbox was live on the front page and you were like, let me find out what this is all about. This looked just like kind of what they would show at E3 with less bullshit fluff pieces. Keanu Reeves, like them paying Keanu Reeves $250,000 to show up and release a game. Like, all that fluff was cut out and they just went boom, 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 back to back to back. They did have a little bit of interviews from the dev studios, which I really enjoyed. In a game that we'll talk about later, The Medium, I thought they did a really good job with that interview. I thought that we got to see the insight of what that development studio is planning, which I really enjoyed. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, they had a pretty little interview session where they kind of talked about what they were looking to do with Assassin's Creed. That's great. If you are pushing to me that you are showcasing these games with trailers and you are having interviews with the dev studios, I'll buy it. Would have been a great show. As it was, not a good show. I thought it was I give it a failing grade. I give it an F. I don't give it an F-. I'd say it, I'd give it like on a grading scale. I'd give it like a 58%. But that's just me being critical and me looking for better out of Xbox. You can't come into this next generation after getting your ass handed to you and expect to half-ass these things. It's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to catch back up if that's your goal, if you're half-assing these things. And this one felt half-assed because they just didn't give us the proper information. I'm curious to hear your opinion on it, though.
Yeah, I fall a lot in line with what you're saying. To me, it's not what was shown that disappointed me. What was shown in terms of like the games, what was there? There were a lot of, from what it seems like, AA projects, lower AAA projects, things like that, obviously, and they were very upfront saying, hey, this is going to be from our partners, and they said that beforehand. Hey, when we reveal this stuff, this is from third-party partners, these are from studios we partnered with who aren't inside our own Xbox Game Studios wing. These are just third-party studios and things that have been working directly with us that I'm sure they have marketing deals with. So that's fine. Totally fine on that end. And what we've seen is a lot of what it looks to be independent projects and, AA, lower AAA games outside of Assassin's Creed, which was, the biggest game they probably shown outside of Yakuza. So that's not the issue that I have with it. The issue that I have with it is that they marketed this as, hey, here's the first look at gameplay. And what they really should have said is, hey, let's take a look at what our partners have been working on for Xbox Series X, which includes glimpses at gameplay coming, or something like that, where a lot of the footage we saw was in-engine like visuals and things like that. Everything was rendered in engine for a lot of these things, which is fine. There's no issue with that, because that's good. That still shows us, hey, this is what's being rendered in engine. This isn't cinematic. This is what you can expect.
Exactly.
But what they were marketing this as was saying, hey, here's your first glimpse of what you're going to see when you hit the Xbox button on your controller day one, turn that thing on, and get into Assassin's Creed Valhalla. This is what you can expect. That's the way that they were marketing this, where what they shown were very, very small glimpses of actual gameplay, if you want to even call it that, with basically a bunch of concept or story, if you want to even call it, like narrative teaser trailers of a lot of things, which isn't a bad thing. And like I said, that's not a bad thing, but it's the messaging, and I guess that's what's thrown me off so much, is because Microsoft's messaging and Microsoft's approach to this next generation, to me, has been fucking spot on up until now. This was
a huge swing and a miss, right?
Right. It's been absolutely stellar. Like, everything they've said. The smart delivery service, which is great. And there's even good things within here about this. That's no problem, outside of EA being fucking scummy like they are at times, which we'll talk about. But, with smart delivery, they've been very upfront saying, hey, we're not going to gyp you. We're not going to worry about pulling one over on you. If you bought Cyberpunk 2077 in September, we're saying, hey, we're putting the power in the developers' hands. If they're cool with it, we're going to put that game out on part of our smart delivery system where it's forward compatible. You buy that, you can go ahead and put that in your Xbox, and you're going to get basically the Xbox Series X version of that game. You won't have to buy it twice. So when there eventually is a straight out of the box, when they stop producing Xbox Ones, they're going to have a Xbox Series X version of Cyberpunk 2077. So at that point, it won't matter. But right now, during this transitional period where you see so many cross-gen titles, that's where you kind of get into, oh man, well, I just bought, like, take for example, which always seems to be the perfect one. Last generation, going into it, The Last of Us releases in June of 2013. The PlayStation 4 launches in November. It's not backwards compatible. They released The Last of Us remastered in, I believe it was like literally a year later. I think it was like June, even May maybe, of 2014. Nothing wrong with that necessarily, but it does burn some people who just bought, The Last of Us a year ago, and now they want to play it on nicer visuals and whatnot. Oh, well, fuck, I gotta buy it on, or somebody who buys Assassin's Creed, like, let's just say Assassin's Creed Black Flag last generation. That was a launch title, if I remember correctly, or right next to it. They buy that on Xbox 360. They can't go and put it in their Xbox One because at that point, backwards compatibility wasn't an option with the Xbox One. So if they, hey, I bought it at launch and I didn't have the money to get an Xbox One at that point, but I got it, somebody like me, I got my Xbox One, I think it was like a couple months later, like January or something like that. Well, I bought that now. Can I just put in my... No, it's not backwards compatible. So I have to go and buy the Xbox One version of that. Well, okay, whatever. There's another $60. So then I'm spending $120 on the game. So their messaging with that stuff has been great. They're saying that we want to put... They're still doing so many consumer-friendly things, which is great because they're working from behind still. It just shocks me that this was such a big swing and a miss for them in terms of the messaging. Like I said, not necessarily what was shown in terms of the games that were shown. I'm not disappointed by that at all because these are coming from partners. I wasn't expecting, Hellblade 2 to be there. Now, granted, when they first announced, hey, we're doing the thing, and they didn't confirm that it was third-party only for like a couple hours, then I was like, fuck yeah, Halo Infinite, baby, we're finally seeing it. Hey, there's Hellblade 2's going to be there. Maybe we'll see the Initiative's new game. But once they came out with that, okay, cool. We're going to see Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And even right before the show, I tweeted out saying, like, here's my expectations for the show, that things I would love to see. Mm-hmm. Not saying, like, man, I expect all these to be there, but I can see potentially them being there because they want to go and make all these noise. And we keep hearing about the scuttlebutt that in the reports saying, like, Xbox is signing some pretty big, like, marketing deals and things like that with, in terms of digital rights and whatnot for titles, these third-party titles that are coming out that we've never seen with Xbox before. So that puts in my mind too, hey, in terms of that, maybe we'll see, we're definitely seeing Assassin's Creed. It's confirmed. Does Elden Ring pop back up here? The new From Software game that we saw last year's E3 that is in partnership with George R.R. Martin, like he wrote the world or whatever it is. Do we see that here? Do we see the new BioShock that's in development, that's been confirmed in development for like a year or two now? Do we see a tease of that? Do we see Resident Evil 8? Do we see something from Capcom? Do we see another Ubisoft project that has been, they have 4 games that they're going to be launching within the next, I think it's 3 or 4, within the next fiscal year, ending in 2021. So we are definitely going to see them on Xbox Series X and PS5. Do we see them now? So that's not the issue of what's shown, but it's the way that things were presented in terms of, hey, we're going to be showing Xbox Series X gameplay. When realistically they should have said, this is what we want to show you, what you can expect from visual fidelity and presentation immersion from Xbox, with a look at some gameplay footage, in-engine footage, gameplay footage. Like, be more specific with it, because I think even though a lot of people like myself, expectations were set kind of low. In terms of, like, I'm not expecting the world, but I'm expecting, maybe we'll see 3 games, but we're going to see actual gameplay from them. And, kind of just kicking off our conversation here, Mike, first game on the list that we did see, and I'm pulling this from an article over on Newsweek from Philip Martinez, who did a really good job in terms of getting all the trailers compiled, all the games that were shown, things like that, little blurbs about them and stuff like that. Assassin's Creed Valhalla was easily the biggest game that was confirmed to be there so far, and what people expected to be there, and see gameplay. That was this is the first, you're going to see the first look at Assassin's Creed Valhalla gameplay on Xbox Series X at that event. This is the first time you're going to see gameplay of this, period. So, week later after we get the reveal, people are, hell yeah, this is awesome. we really didn't see gameplay. Like, and I think that was the biggest one, and that may go, who knows? That may not have been a Microsoft thing. That may have been a Ubisoft thing saying, hey, we, with our deal, we're not forced to show you this. We'll show you this, but we're not forced to show you a 10-minute playthrough of a mission or something like that, or one quest or whatever. We're not, legally, we don't have to do that. The game's not ready yet to show that, yada, yada, whatever. Well, then, don't show it. If you're going to say this is gameplay footage, and you're showing really, in-engine and really quick cutaways of the game that isn't even from, that doesn't have a HUD on it, doesn't even have it from the actual over-the-shoulder camera perspective that a player's going to see. It's
right.
all, presentational. It's just shitty. That's just... I just feel a little burnt, I guess.
Yeah.
And just not in, like I keep saying, it's not in the way that, man, they really just kind of, I didn't like what I saw type of thing. It's no, you just kind of called bullshit. I'm calling bullshit on you. You said you were going to do one thing, and you, vaguely did do that, but just not completely. You did the, half-assed version of it, where you should have asked, the developers you're working with, or the publishers, to ask the developers they have to say, hey, we want to have, because a lot of these games, if they have a game we'll get to The Medium that's launching holiday 2020, you would have to imagine that game is in at least an alpha stage, where it's playable. You can play that game even at a very early stage, which I would hope if they're launching in 5 months potentially, they would have that game ready to go by, not ready to go, but it would be in a much further spot than an alpha or whatever. So enough to whip up some actual little bit of gameplay, an immersion level. Kind of like the first game that they showed off, Bright Memory Infinite, from Playism Games, the first-person shooter one. That I'm cool with that. That is totally fine, because that's what a player is probably going to see.
Exactly.
So just kind of kicking off, Mike, what did you think of what you saw with, let's start off with Bright Memory Infinite. Out of that, maybe Dirt 5, any of those games really the first couple games, any of them really catch your interest?
I'm a first person shooter guy. I don't think, I know everyone knows that. So Bright Memory Infinite looked, really cool. I think it kind of gave me a little bit of a Doom Quake feeling, just because of how fast paced and everything it was. Being able to cut people in half and, with a sword, as you have in the notes here and everything, that one kind of caught my eye. And also, like you were saying, it was the only game that kind of delivered on that promise of showing some gameplay. I think some people might not know that. I'm sure people know, but when you watch a cinematic trailer, you aren't seeing anything of what the game's going to look like. We've seen this over the years. Go back and watch Halo 2 original footage that from a cinematic trailer, and tell me if anything from that cinematic trailer got put into Halo 2. Spoiler alert, it didn't.
The best
the game was completely different.
And not to cut you off, but it kind of plays in. It's funny that Ubisoft, who in all honesty to me is the best right now, is the best, most honest major third-party publisher that's out there. All of their games they put out, for the most part, yes, they do have monetization put into them. Shocker. They're that as big as EA. They're pretty much comparative. They're the EA of Europe and the western part of the world. For the most part. So the farther you get away, that's where they become EA. They're viewed like EA. They're huge in terms of their magnitude that they have in the gaming sphere. But they're notorious of showing hyper-realistic, cinematic things and presentations for their games and saying, hey, this is gameplay.
Yeah,
when it isn't true.
The Division comes to mind.
The Division and more, and as you and I, both fans of the game, Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah.
Like, when they first showed that fucking game, look at the fucking reveal trailer for that. Then look at the release of that game. That is, when they're saying, hey, this is gameplay footage, or hey, this is X, Y, and Z, like, no. Look at Watch Dogs was another one that they showed. That it's, like, hyper-realistic. They had, like, beautiful god rays pouring in that game. The reflection of the water was unrealistic. Like, it was so realistic that, like, people are like, oh my god, this is what next gen is going to be, because that was an early next gen title as well. And then when it came out, people are like, the fuck is what
Exactly.
Like, people liked the game, but it was like, this isn't what you were showing. Like, so you make an excellent point that, you know, actually showing gameplay footage is important, because even if you're showing in-engine footage, that could still be doctored up a little bit, because there's still so much stress that is then put on.
And you can polish it, yeah.
Right. There's so much more stress, like user interaction that goes on the CPU, more specifically than the GPU of the system, but more specifically the CPU, that if they want to be able to do that, they have to downgrade the visuals a little bit. Like, if they
and not
want you
even
to
like
have a good experience playing the game and not just be a buggy, choppy mess.
and they have they have multi-$1,000 machines that they would render this on. So what they would experience in game would probably not even be close to what you would experience with your like run-of-the-mill PC build. And that's not to say, like, if you've put $2,000 into your computer, I'm talking like these dev studios have like $5,000 computers to do things like this.
They have fucking like spaceships.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, compared to what you have, it's going to be different, which, like, cool. But like we basically, you know, the whole overture for this entire pod is going to be disappointment, just because they missed the mark so badly. And they missed the mark because they overpromised and super underdelivered. And it's not the third-party devs' fault. So I'm looking at the show, and I'm really excited for every single one of the third-party devs that showed games, because even though, you know, it was cinematic and it wasn't actual gameplay, they showed up, they did what they were supposed to do. Xbox is the one that dropped the ball here. So I want to make sure I get that point across, because there were some dev studios here that I'm super excited about. And, you know, I'm not a big AC guy, because I, you know, didn't enjoy some of the older AC games, but Valhalla looks really good. And I might actually give Odyssey a shot because of how good, you know, Valhalla looks. And, you know, you're kind of pumping the tires on Odyssey, and, you know, I'm going to check it out. But
the newest, I'll say this, I fucking could not stand Assassin's Creed up until Origins. Up until they finally said, because I viewed it like Call of Duty for the most part. It's annualized. I don't want to say garbage, because nothing anybody makes should be considered garbage, unless it's like literally like Superman 64 or something like that. That's actual literal fucking garbage. Like, you know, nothing like that should ever be like, people are making art. This is their art. Somebody likes this somewhere, because it wouldn't make bazillion dollars somewhere, you know, or every year that they make a Call of Duty. But to me, that, like, let's put it this way, in a better way, I was much more burnt out from the series because of loving Assassin's Creed 1, then Assassin's Creed 2 being so fucking good, and then just seeing how, you know, people wanted to just keep getting Assassin's Creed, and being Ubisoft being so big, and knowing like, hey, we're gonna make so much money off of this, let's just keep doing it every year. Boom, 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 boom. That it's like, no,
it was a money grab,
right? But then they did what was needed to evolve that series. They took it more open world than it was. They took it into RPG territory that isn't just a, you know, hey, we want to just dip our toe in type of deal that you see with a lot of, like, you know, game franchises that want to try going open world and want to try, you know, adding RPG elements. Some never fully commit to it, where Assassin's Creed does, and it's really great, but it's not overwhelming, like, you know, in terms of, like, if you're trying to introduce somebody who has never played older, like, pen and paper PC, like, early PC RPGs, like, even Morrowind, for example, and your stats, like, align a lot more, it's a lot more intricate to actually go and play that game comparative to Skyrim, where, you know, it's a little bit easier to just kind of plug and play. This finds a good medium with that. So I definitely, like, if you've been scared away, and I don't even like Greek mythology that much. I don't like Egyptian mythology that much. Like, those two elements, I was like, wasn't crazy about the Egyptian stuff. Loved Origins, though. Because, like, the world they built, I was into. Like, it wasn't that it was, Egyptian. The world that they built within that was great. Same with Odyssey. But I fucking love Norse mythology. So I'm like you, I'm fucking hyped for that now. Because, like, just that setting alone, leave everything of the great things that I like about Assassin's Creed right now, I'm all in on that. Just for being able to explore all of that mythology that I've loved for so long and, been so interested in. So, just wanted to kind of clarify on, like, add a little bit to it, that you probably like it just for the actual RPG elements alone on it, with knowing how you are with RPGs.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but my game's Brain Memory Infinite. I just thought that they came to play. It's not that Dirt 5 or Scorn or the other games didn't show up. It's just, it's more up my alley. You know what I'm saying? I'm curious to hear, which year. I mean, we're going to talk about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. We're definitely going to talk about Madden, not Madden.
Well, actually, medium. You know what? No, I'll bring Madden up right now just because you mentioned it. Because it was shown, quote unquote shown. They literally showed like 5 seconds of it.
And they showed Patrick Mahomes talking. Yeah.
Yeah. So they literally showed actual like 5 seconds of in-game or in-engine footage of that game. Which I was like, dude, one, it's fucking Madden. It's, for the most part, like, we've reached, and I was actually explaining this to Molly last night because I was talking to her about, I was streaming Assassin's Creed Odyssey to my laptop from my computer, and I was trying to play it that way because I wanted to play a little bit of it. I didn't really get to play video games that much yesterday or anything like that, so we had a bunch of stuff with, like, our wedding and stuff planning, so, like, I was like, later that night, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll try to stream it from there. And I was like, it does kind of stink that, like, it hinders the frame rate trying to stream it, like, and she's like, what's that mean? And I was explaining, like, oh, this is what, frame rate is, yada, yada, whatnot. And I was like, that's what's so intriguing about going to next gen, because we've pretty much, for the most part, and this is where Madden kind of comes into it, we've kind of reached the precipice of what we can do right now visually, for the most part. Like, even just from 360, like late 360 to now, there's a jump by all means, but it's mostly fine-tuning and polishing, where it's not comparative to, Super Nintendo to N64 to N64 to the PS2 era to PS2 era to 360. Like, those are incremental jumps that you can see in terms of visual. We've kind of not hit a complete plateau, but we're starting to level out a little bit to what we can actually do right now visually. That we have to keep finding, the games industry needs to keep finding ways to up the immersion levels now. And that comes with higher frame rates, that comes with better audio, quicker load times, things like that. So I was explaining to her all that, but like Madden, it's like, why wouldn't you show more of that? It's not like the graphics are going to be that much, realistically, that much different. It will be
for
like
a game that launches like every August, like it should be pretty close to being done.
Right. No, exactly. But talking about the smart delivery too, they had the smart delivery tag on that. So during it, but actually EA is not really doing that. So this comes from, I pulled it from The Verge because they had an actual like source with EA to confirm it. So this reads from The Verge. Third-party studios like Ubisoft, Sega, and Bandai Namco Entertainment are backing Microsoft's smart delivery upgrades. But there's one big exception, EA. While EA unveiled Madden 21 for the Xbox Series X today, the company is not pledging its commitment to supporting smart delivery. Instead, EA is offering its own free upgrade offer, but only if players purchase Madden NFL 21 on Xbox One by December 31st and upgrade to Xbox Series X by March 31st, 2021. So, no, you won't. Basically, you have like such a short window to actually take the fuck out of here type of thing. I haven't bought a Madden game in probably 15 years.
I wish I didn't buy NHL. It's the only game in town. Sometimes I want to play hockey. EA has been the worst for a long time.
There's nothing wrong with I still love NHL games. Like, I still like enjoy. I don't hate like sports games by any means. I mean, I fucking work in sports, so it's like I love that. And I even saw somebody online like asking, are people who only play sports games, are they actual gamers? Yes. Stop fucking gatekeeping. Everybody who plays anything is a gamer. Like, in terms of, like, even if you play fucking Candy Crush on your phone, that's cool. I'll say it. I'll say it. No,
dude.
I'll say it. I think
your dad's a gamer if he plays Candy Crush?
I mean,
come on.
He won't agree.
I'm calling your bluff.
He'll say, no. I still am shocked I couldn't get him to play Red Dead 2. I really, even to just sit down and play it, like, try it out. But, to an extent, you get what I'm saying. Like, the people who do play that, they're still people who game, like, yada yada. But you get my point, that it's like,
right.
EA and the way that they're handling this, especially for all the backlash they got, especially now, though, they got one hit under them, which has nothing to do with them now, in terms of, like, their doing, because it's all on Respawn, but they have one, like, critical and very commercial successful hit in terms of a single-player game with Jedi Fallen Order this past year. Now they're starting to pull this bullshit again. The people are like, okay, EA, you know, they let Respawn do this. They said, hey, you gotta do this live service game in Apex Legends for the most part, and I'm paraphrasing, but we'll let you take part of our Star Wars license and make a Star Wars game. And it's a single-player game, that's fine, as long as you have a way to monetize your studio with another, you know, entity, being why they opened at least 2 teams within that studio, one working on Apex, one working on Jedi Fallen Order. So, it just, like, you're starting to get a little bit of good grace again. You're starting to get a little bit of good grace, and then you start pulling shit like this again. Like, fucking A, like, people are going to be able to buy Madden 21 on Black Friday for, like, $10 as it is. Like, right after it launches. So who the fuck cares? Like, let them get it. Let them get the upgrade. Who the fuck cares? Like, you're not going to lose out on that much money. But I did just want to bring that up real quick because you mentioned Madden. I had it listed there. I thought it was really funny. In terms of games, though, that I saw that I really did think were cool, all of them look pretty good. One being Scorn, I really thought. Like, Dirt 5, okay, whatever. Like, I'm not a racing fan. Looked really cool. The visuals are really stunning. Like, all of these games look really good. Outside of really the character models for Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2.
Yeah, that was a cool looking concept, and I enjoyed the concept, but the execution of, at least, like you're saying, the models, it felt a little off.
Well, it's really weird because the environments look fucking gorgeous. Like, they did a great job with that, but the character models, it's like, I don't know if and it may have just been because I'm not super familiar with the franchise. I've heard excellent things from people who are, like, big RPG heads with this series, saying, like, they're really excited about it because it's actually, the previous ones were huge, like, great pen and paper-esque, like, RPG experiences. Like, PC gamers back then were like, this is a great franchise to get into. So people are really, like, high on this game coming out, which is great. And I believe it might be on Game Pass. Comments hit me if I'm wrong. I think it might be coming to Game Pass. I'm not positive, though. But if that's the case, for sure, I'm going to try it out. But yeah, man, like, those, like, character models were kind of like, I don't know if it was purposeful. They were going for more of a cartoony look, which is fine if that's what they are. But to me, it, like, just didn't gel with the world that they built. Like, I liked the themes they had going on. That was cool. But, like, it was very, like, late PS2, early 360 generation, like, character models. I'm like, if you're going to show gameplay for this system, like, I don't know. But yeah, Scorn looked really good. And here's kind of a write-up on it that I got, and it's actually not the first time we've seen Scorn. There was a trailer that was put out like 3 years ago on this game, just kind of reemerged, kind of like almost Cyberpunk, where Cyberpunk was shown in like 2012 or 13 in like a cinematic trailer, and then disappeared until 2018. So like, it's happened before, but a lot of people forgot about it. But here, I'll just kind of run through Scorn, and this comes from over on the Xbox news site from Microsoft. It's been a long time since Ebb Software was founded, and even longer time since the idea for Scorn first popped into lead designer Limbarger Peckler. I'm so sorry if I butchered that name. I'm sure I did because I'm a fucking idiot. But in 2013, Serbian studio Ebb Software was founded and with the sole purpose of creating a different breed of video games, and Scorn aims to deliver that. The team behind that game is excited to share more with you today. Scorn's development began in 2014 with the team still small, and the next 2 years were spent figuring out which available tools would allow them to make the game they wanted to make and the demo they wanted to present to publishers. With the help of thousands of backers and additional funding from Kowloon Knights, Ebb Software was able to make the game they had in their mind for over a decade become a reality, and it's coming to Xbox Series X and Windows Scorn. Scorn is a first-person horror adventure game designed around the idea of being thrown into the world. As players explore the dreamlike world in a non-linear fashion, they will soon learn that every location has its own story, puzzles, and characters. Even the unsettling environment itself is a character itself. The team has drawn visual inspiration from Swiss painter H.R. Giger and Polish painter
Good luck.
Bakskinski. I'm an idiot, so I don't know this stuff and know how to pronounce things. Conceptual inspiration has come from works by unique writers like Franz Kafka and Georges Louis Borges. Horror and sci-fi writers like Thomas Ligotti and J.G. Ballard, and weird cinema of David Cronenberg and David Lynch. So, like, this game really, to me, like, being somebody who loves especially first-person horror experiences, really stuck out because at first, the way that they were showing this before, like, I started picking up, oh, this is Scorn. I was getting Alien vibes, like Ridley Scott's Alien vibes. That even some of the, like, designs in the environments reminded me straight from, like, Prometheus or, like, something from the Alien, like, I'm, like, waiting, like, are we gonna see another Alien, like, licensed Alien game? Because Alien Isolation is great. So I was like, fuck yeah, give me more of that. And then when seeing the Scorn, I'm like, okay, I still dig with that. Really fucking weird, really fucking creepy, and pretty gross, to be honest, but cool, I'm down with it. I'll give it a try, especially coming to Xbox Game Pass. So I'm cool with it. Like, stuff like that, that's going to be a great game to at least try to play with all of us. And even kind of doubling back on the horror, The Medium, which you were really high on, Mike. So tell me a little bit about that. That's Bloober Team, the team that made Layers of Fear 1 and 2, and also Blair Witch, that we recently reviewed a handful of months ago.
Yeah, I was really excited with The Medium's display here. I thought they did a really good job. Even though, again, it was a cinematic trailer, I thought the cinematic trailer was beautifully done. Mm-hmm. I thought that it did a pretty good job getting, like, kind of, like, sinking its claws into your interest, saying, like, what's going on here? This girl, they use a female protagonist, which is always interesting. It's way less, it's way, I guess the word to use is it's, like, far less niche nowadays. Gaming has had female protagonists, but it's 2020. It feels like there's a ton more, which is great. I think it's worth noting personally, just because playing games since I was a little kid, man, there were females in games, but you're hard pressed to find a female protagonist, let's be honest, for a long time. So it's great to see, things change. Bloober did a fantastic job with Layers of Fear. I really did enjoy Blair Witch, even though there were some light issues with Blair Witch. I thought that for what they wanted to accomplish, they knocked it out of the park. What they were presenting you, what kind of gameplay you wanted to get. And the psychological thriller, as a genre is pretty untapped, if you know what I'm saying. Like, sure, Amnesia: The Dark Descent did it, and it was fantastic, but new generation games haven't really gone this way. And I think that The Medium, behind Bloober's work, is a game that, whenever Team Bloober was one of the teams that kind of had a little interview where they kind of were asked some questions and they kind of answered and gave you a general idea of what you're going to be doing in this game. They talked about how, you're this protagonist who keeps having a vision and you're kind of working to prevent the vision from actually happening, which I thought is a fantastic way to do a storyline. in Bloober, they just answered the questions honestly, and they kind of told you everything that you kind of wanted to know about the game. Mm-hmm. Aside from actually seeing in-game footage, they kind of told you exactly what to expect. And based on their previous projects, I'm super high on this dev team. I know they're kind of new kids on the block, if you will, but I think what they've been doing and what they've been working on up to this point, it kind of makes sense that Blair Witch was as short and as light as it was, because they produced that, put it out, and now they're coming out with this game, and it has a scheduled release date for holiday 2020, which means their last game came out in the summer of last year, and now they're coming out with another game. Mm-hmm. So everything kind of makes sense as to why that game was so light. Overall, just pulling from what the Medium offered us and Bloober offered us, the thing I will say about Xbox in general with this, these third party teams and what they're developing, mm-hmm. it really feels like they are going right at the throat of Sony. Now, I know this is straight up third party teams, so you can't really control what they're offering you, mm-hmm. but it definitely feels like there's a couple JRPGs thrown in there that we'll talk about. You want to talk about Yakuza. This story-driven, the Medium game feels like a game that, even though it's a horror thriller, it's going to be story-driven, and it feels like it's going right at a cinematic experience that you get from Sony. So I'm excited to see what they do going forward. I thought that the cinematic footage they showed us was fantastic, beautiful. It feels like they're right on point with what they want from a survivor thriller. Mm. So I'm super high on the Medium. If there's a game, I think we can agree that Assassin's Creed Odyssey is probably the creme de la creme of third-party games that's going to be offered. Mm-hmm. If there's a one that was kind of lurking in the grass and in the weeds, like a snake in the grass, the Medium for me is that snake in the grass. I have great vibes from this game. I think this game's going to be fantastic. I think they're going to do a wonderful job knocking it out of the park. Yeah,
it's definitely outside of AC and outside of really to be quite honest, this, thinking out loud, this is probably, outside of AC, this was the game I enjoyed seeing the most of. Mm-hmm. That it definitely, at this point, I trust Bloober in terms of making a horror experience. Is it going to be necessarily the best thing? Who the hell knows? Because horror games are so hard to pull off. When I'm playing horror games, I don't necessarily want the most deep and detailed story, I guess, out of it. I'm looking to get a scare out of it. I'm looking for world building immersion that's built into it. Now, if we have something like an RE7 that comes along that, for, like I always say, 3/4 of that game were like a perfect horror game where it still had a great story leading into where towards the end it kind of,
and the gameplay was right at home, and
right,
and like you're saying about the horror aspect of the game, even if it like teeters on thriller, when you go from thriller to horror, mm-hmm. Everyone kind of has their own expectations when it comes to that. I think if it's a psychological thriller versus horror, where the entire game it feels like there is tension and it's just standing on your chest, that's great. Now, like you're saying, I just want to clarify my comments on the game just because you did bring up a great point. Mm-hmm. If you're looking for a horror experience, it might not be the same experience that I'm looking for out of a horror experience. Mm-hmm. I think horror, I think thriller, I think things of that nature, intense, it always feels like you're standing on thin ice, and at any second, boom, you can crack through it. That's mm-hmm. kind of what I'm looking for. Now, you kind of are looking for a different experience because I don't really like horror movies in general because I don't like being scared all that much. Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to something like this, I think it's going to be interesting, but continue. I just wanted to kind kind of clarify what I'm looking for and how it might compare to other people, because I think it's important.
No, definitely. Yeah, and that's, you have, like I was saying about Resident Evil 7, you have a game that really kind of melds all of that together really well. They're few and far between. Mostly, you're getting out of what I want out of good horror experience is immersion, world building, and good scares. They don't have to be jump scares, but it's feeling uncomfortable. It's having that feeling of kind of like you're being watched, you're being followed, something like that. And Bloober's always done a really good job with that, with the layers of fear game, Observer, and then also too Blair Witch. Which Blair Witch, not the greatest like story in the world, but I always thought the immersion was really, really well done. With how they built that world that you're in.
Lights off, headphones on type of
yes,
game.
100%, 100%.
A lot like Amnesia, you know.
Yeah, 100%. Last couple games, just kind of running through them because, especially like the second biggest one that was probably out of this, and even the biggest compared to which audience you're talking to, Yakuza Like a Dragon, the newest installment in the Yakuza series, which is big, coming to Xbox, being part of Xbox Smart Delivery. Yakuza, traditionally a PlayStation franchise, and
that's the biggest thing I noticed about this entire
yeah.
show was when I saw Yakuza, I was like, ooh, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's always been a PlayStation franchise for the most part in terms of like the console releases. But recently, Microsoft getting a ton of the games onto their platform, onto Game Pass too. Now we're really seeing, Yakuza become this third-party franchise for the most part, and really seeing kind of a definition to that, I guess. But great for those who are interested in it. I've never played one. I've heard they're great. I'd like to try one out, especially after playing Final Fantasy VII Remake. So many people saying so many parts of that were like a Yakuza game, from the interactions that you have throughout town. I'd definitely be interested in playing more of that. So, like, I kind of want to eventually get to try one. But now they're on Game Pass, I'm a little more, inclined to do that. But last couple games here outside of that, Second Extinction, it's a first-person shooter where you're hunting dinosaur-like creatures and they're taking over. I thought
it was a cool concept.
Yeah, it almost seems like Killing Floor Left 4 Dead with dinosaurs
with like a Turok.
Yeah. Like that, I'm cool with that. Like another game, definitely willing to try out if it comes to Game Pass eventually.
When's the last time a Turok was made? N64. Like getting a new.
No, they had that shitty one.
On Xbox 360.
Yeah.
Okay.
That generation. That I remember a kid who went to our high school played that like religiously online, and I was like,
who was it?
I'll tell you off. I don't think he's fucking listening to this, but I'll tell you off.
Okay.
But he played it like religiously. He was one kid who always like would pick random games and like play them online like religiously. I'm like, dude, just play Halo or something. Like, wait, by all means, whatever you want. But
you would remember that too,
right? Oh yeah. Whenever I saw it, I thought of Turok. I was like, oh yeah, they made that shitty game. Oh yeah, that one kid did play that.
He's probably gonna play it, huh?
Yeah, he's probably still playing it. So outside of that, Scarlet Nexus, an anime-inspired game coming from Bandai Namco, looks really cool. Looks like almost in the vein of Astral Chain that came out on Nintendo Switch. Awesome. I don't know if I'll try it, but still looks cool. The Ascent action RPG that's isometric, that has a mix of sci-fi and cyberpunk worlds. Really looks cool, from almost like a Diablo-esque take on like the cyberpunk approach to sci-fi and stuff like that. Sounds really cool. Another game that I saw that was cool before we wrap up here, Call of the Sea. So just kind of give you an idea of Call of the Sea, takes place in the 1930s. It's a story-driven game that lets you take on the role of Nora, a woman who has crossed an ocean in desperate search of her husband who has gone missing during an expedition. During your journey in Call of the Sea, we want you to awaken your curiosity. You will discover remnants of a lost civilization and occult secrets while searching for clues about what fate has befallen the expedition. You'll also begin to realize that things are not as all what they seem. On occasion, reality will suddenly become distorted and surreal. It's probably going to be more walking simulator than anything, but if it's on Xbox Game Pass eventually, if it's something that, I could play for that's at that AA price point, totally cool. Totally wanting to try it out because I do like the narrative walking simulator. Here's a story that we just want you to experience that's bite-sized. This doesn't seem like it's going to be a 10-hour game. It seems like it may be, a 3 to 5 hour experience. At least from what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing, it leads me to believe it's more on the lines of a much more ramped up Gone Home or something like that, which is great. Definitely interested in trying that out. So overall, Mike, a lot of good stuff that is coming out of this event. It's just what it's not the games that were shown that I think leaves me a little disappointed, leaves you a little disappointed, leaves a lot of people a little disappointed. It's what was shown of those games in terms of
what was promised.
What was promised, yeah. Like I said, it's more mismarketed. It's more poorly marketed for what this event was, and
it's missteps that you feel like after last generation, Xbox can't afford to make.
Yeah, and it makes me want to, even though it might not be the most logical thing in the world, it makes me almost want Xbox to have, or Microsoft to produce 2 different shows for Xbox. The Inside Xbox that happens once a month or whatever, and then Xbox All Access or something like that, that's more of a Nintendo Direct, more of a state of play, something like that they can do solely for announcements and gameplay reveals, things like that, where I feel like they were starting to do that in a special case scenario type thing with today's event, and potentially looking at next month with when we get a better look at the hardware, July getting a better look at first party games. It's more, I was hoping they would kind of buck the trend with that and kind of sway away from that for these couple, where we're getting more of a, hey, this is more of an E3 presentation, where it still did lean into the, hey, it's still a magazine-esque show where we're going to have, conversations with developers and stuff like that on the show, interviews like that, which is cool. It's just, people are there for the gameplay. They want to see when they hit that Xbox button on their Xbox Series X controller in November, potentially, what are they going to see when they're looking at that game? They want to see test cases with this. They want to see gameplay looks, not in-engine and weird angle views of gameplay. They want to actually see what they're going to put their money towards. And a lot of these games that are launching this soon are probably in a state that they could provide that. And who knows, there may be red tape with that. It's just hard to tell. But all I know is come July, when we will see Xbox Game Studios, and what they're planning and what's on the slate for them, they better bring it. And I have faith that they will. I think this situation, especially after some of the negativity I think Xbox is going to see from this, that's brought up by their fans, I think they may make sure that, hey, we're going to hit this one, we're going to fucking hit it out of the park this time, and make sure we show and lean into the things that our fans want, because they're so consumer friendly right now. I feel confident they're going to do that, but they better bring it with what they show during this, and more importantly, how they show it. Whenever it comes to their first party releases, when it comes to a Halo Infinite that we still haven't seen gameplay for. Perfect example, and then we're going to wrap up. When we saw the Discover Hope trailer for Halo Infinite last summer at E3, I really liked the trailer in terms of what was shown as being, hey, here's a proof of concept of, a piece of what this world you're going to be investing in is like. And it really set the mood for, wow, the immersion things that they're doing with this game, it reminds me a lot of the level of an Uncharted, the level of a Last of Us, the level of a God of War, that presentation, that feel, the music that was put into it. It felt very cinematic, which is great, which is what I want out of a Halo first person, or a single player experience at least. What they showed during that was in-engine footage with, whenever they showed the first-person view of Chief through Chief's eyes, that's in-engine footage. That's what a player would probably see.
Mm-hmm.
But that's on what was... it's still in-engine footage. It wasn't with the HUD. It wasn't with yada yada. That's on par of what we saw today, for the most part. And that's not the same thing. That's not the same thing as gameplay. So when it comes July, they just better hit it out of the park. They just better bring it. How about that? They better bring what their fans are hoping for, and that's actual gameplay from Halo Infinite, actual, continued looks at Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, potentially what the fuck the Initiative's been working on. fucking announce Fable 2 already, or Fable 4 already, I mean. Things like that people have been wanting.
Maybe you were right. Because it felt like Fable 2 and Fable 3. But yeah.
You get what I'm saying. So,
Yeah.
point being, it just better... I have full faith that they're going to, because their wording with this just felt very off comparative to what they've done in the past, or at least the past year or so. I have full faith that Microsoft's going to have a strong showing in July, especially following up with hopefully it's a strong showing of, hey, just from a hardware perspective, why you want to buy into this ecosystem with the Series X in June. I have full faith that we'll probably get there. I still feel very strong. It's one swing and a miss. That's why you got 3 strikes to mess with. You missed the first strike. Okay, you see one ball, you take that strike. Okay, cool. Now you saw it. Let's go. So, Mike, I think that's going to do it for our episode this week. Where can people find you to talk about all things from this Inside Xbox event and the future of the Xbox Series X leading into its launch in November? Where can people find you online to do that?
Yes, you can find me at TOYSXLDIER on Twitter, and on Twitch you can find me at MP_Toy Soldier. Where can they find you at?
As always, I'm your host, Travis White, aka Travis on most internet platforms, because I think I didn't even mention that at the top of the show. This show's all off this week. We're recording a little bit later than before. We're kind of rushing to get out there because we want to make sure we talked about the whole event.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
It was important. I was just going to say, we kind of were hoping to have more to talk about.
Yeah.
Because it's been slow in the news, but what are you going to do? It is what it is.
It is what it is. It is what it is. But as always, if I didn't say it before, I'm saying it now. As always, I'm your host, Travis White, aka Travelus, on most internet platforms, including Twitter at Traveless_. That's TRAVLESS_. You can find me streaming time to time over on twitch.tv/Traveless_, same as Twitter. And you could also play some video games with me over on Xbox Live at Traveless, just regular Traveless, no underscore, TRAVLESS. And this, ladies and gentlemen, has been your newest episode of the Game Pass Gamecast, your weekly go-to podcast for all things Xbox, Xbox Game Pass, and PC gaming, including news, rumors, and conversation around them damn good video games. You can catch new episodes of the show each and every Friday morning when they drop on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and all other major podcast services. So be sure to subscribe to us wherever you get a podcast at. Also, too, if we're not on there, let me know. Whatever podcast service you listen to, let me know. I'll get us on there. And follow us on Twitter at GPGC Podcast. Stay up to date with everything regarding the show, video games and our dope giveaways. With that being said, Mike, that's going to do it for our episode this week. Thank you so much for everyone for listening, sharing, and being a part of our growing community. Game on, wash your fucking hands, listen to the doctors, and we will see you next week.